It's been a while. You don't remember it, but the last time we talked was Chicago Open Air 2016.
Oh my
So
God. The only Chicago open air, right?
there was like two or three,
Maybe
but
two.
that was the
Okay.
best. That was the best one.
That was with
Is
Ramstein.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a good year. Oh my God, that was a good year.
I'll never forget the purple smoke.
Man, that was a great year. And man, when you and I talked at Open Air, you and I had talked about how for a while there was a lot of bands that were categorized as, oh, those are Warped Tour bands. That's a certain style scene of band. But at some point in there, that disappeared. And you guys and a lot of bands in your group graduated up to and started playing these bigger festivals and mainstreaming and really going to another level. And it's hard to believe that it's been 15 years since this it's 15 years since this album
Crazy.
came out, man. Apologies for the week. 15 years. Is 2009 15 years already?
I know, man. That was the year I graduated. So I'm just like, ugh.
Oh, I was '06, so I wasn't far, but I wasn't far ahead of it. Man, looking back, man, it was such an obviously it was the first record, but it was a very important album and it did really, really well out of the gate for you guys, man. Are you a nostalgic person? Do you like to look back, or are you the type that likes to look ahead and look forward?
I think I used to be more nostalgic, but I like to look forward because I am so ADD and I get so bored so quick. I'm always looking for the new thing. It's
Yes.
definitely it's helped the band a lot, but it's also like my biggest weakness. I'm just like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Like,
Same.
yeah.
Same. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, it's fun to look back sometimes, look at stuff you've done in the past, but like for me, it's like there's so much stuff coming up and there's so much stuff going on right now that like I feel like if you look back, you forget where you're going and sometimes you lose focus and you're not going to be ready for where you're going. But man, looking back at this album, what memories come back for you looking back at it was a different band. It
Yeah.
was you were a different person. You were a lot younger. Dude, you were just a kid
Yeah, it's
when you
crazy.
guys made that album. Look back and tell me what it was like being in the band at that time and where you guys were at. Just look back a little bit.
Yeah, it was so fun, man. It was crazy because we were just in high school, and this was like before viral was viral on the internet, you know? So like
Yeah.
that wasn't a term. And it was just like you're getting 250,000 plays a day on this like website, and it's not
MySpace.
monetized, so there's no pennies or anything. It's just like you don't now looking at it now, it's like we would dream of those kind of streams, but like because now you can like there's YouTube Music, Tide, like everything's spread across the board, but it was like a quarter of a million plays a day on one website and just the amount of eyes. And it like happened overnight for us. Like I remember going to school and people just being like, "What did you do? Like, what'd you hack?" Da, da, da. I'm like, "Dude, I didn't touch anything." Like, I literally, it's like it's on fire. My DMs or they weren't even called DMs then; they were just inboxes,
Yeah,
messages.
there was messages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was crazy. And then like yeah, so it's funny because when we went to go do the album, our expectations of touring and doing it professionally really wasn't there as much as we were just excited that a label is going to pay for us to print a record. Like that's how little our expectations were. We're like, because we had
Right.
to like physically go do that because we were all kids. So we're like, you're gonna pay for this and print our stuff. Like I remember approving merch designs for our first like pre-orders and being like, we're gonna have t-shirts. Like this is crazy. Like it was just such a little expectations. And yeah, like just the impact it's had. Like at the time too, it's funny because during that album cycle, like that's when we started touring. So we pretty much until the pandemic toured 9 to 10 months a year. So it never stopped. So like we never really got to see what it did until like 10
Huh.
years later, you're like, oh, this was a
Wow.
big deal. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'll never forget like one memory that always comes back about this album was I was with my friend Tony, and I remember because at the time we were doing it during our senior year of high school. So we were leaving Troy, Ohio, driving to Connersville, Indiana after school, recording, leaving at 4 a.m., driving back to school to make it there at 6 a.m. And we just did that for like a month straight and
Wow.
slept through classes, just like we're doing an album. And we're writing the album too at the time. And there wasn't no like, having a recorded version on your phone or in an email or a
Right.
Dropbox. It was like I can't wait to go back and hear it. And I remember when it was finished, Joey did like a just a rough demo like burnt CD for me. So, and I had this real shitty station wagon that had like you cut out the old radio and you put the CD player in. So like I had that. I remember
Yes.
playing it for friends
Yes.
and all my friends losing their like I will never forget that feeling of just sitting there at a Taco Bell filled like my station wagon's filled and I'm like you want to hear what we did and everyone was just like dude and I'm like okay cool it's pretty cool and I never thought it would have done what it did and for everyone still to love it this many years later like a lot of those albums that time they're hard to go back and listen to because it was just like a time so it's cool that this album sort of lived through and
Yeah.
still can be heard. So
Right. So who brought up that it was coming up on 50? Did you guys automatically know that it was coming up on 15 years, or did somebody have to like bring that up to you? Because like if you're anything like with me, I don't know how long it's been since certain things in
yeah.
my life happened, and my buddies and I will be like, "Man, can you believe it's been 18 years since college?" I'm like, "No, what? Like, did
Yeah.
you know you were coming up on 15 years?"
So I definitely would say it was Ryan, which is funny because he wasn't even on the album originally, but he's like our band encyclopedia. He's like our Wikipedia, like just knows everything. And he brought it up, and it was actually at a really cool time because we're not as active right now in touring
Mhm.
consciously because we're just all in dad mode right now. So we're just trying to,
Yes.
and we've never chilled. So we're like, hey, what can we do to like keep everyone happy, do a little bit of touring, but like save the good stuff for once the kids are a little bit bigger. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, this sort of fell right into place. It was like the universe sort of fall. But instead of us just recording it, yeah, the guest vocal thing is what made it
Yeah.
like that was our make or break. It was like we weren't just going to remaster it or re-record it. We were like, it goes back to the ADD thing. We're like, what spicy thing can we do to make it just not stale? You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, thank God you did that too, because like, dude, you see bands release 30th anniversary editions or 20-year anniversary, 50-year anniversary editions. It's really just the same album, and maybe the graininess is it's more like crisp and clean, but
yeah,
like, dude, this feels like a whole different album. Like it's the same album, and it sounds, you can tell these are the same songs, but like it feels like a whole new record with
that's
all of the
awesome.
guests on it, man. Um, did you guys just kind of have a list of who you guys were like, yeah, let's see if so and so wants to do it or so, or were you like, we have to have Fit for a King on this, right? Because like it's cool. You guys have a lot of the bands that were coming up at the same time as you or around the same time period in the same decade, but you also have a lot of newer bands that have emerged over the last 5 or 6 years as
Yeah.
well that have broken big too. So it's really a good encompassing of metal.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that was conscious on our end. So we wanted to make sure we at least had everyone that we could get that was touring on that album cycle. So that's where you see like Impending Doom, Bleeding Through, Carnifex. They took us out on our first shows ever. Like when nobody knew who we were, somebody somewhere pulled a favor and they took us out on our first tours, and it was like
Nice.
awesome. And we've loved those guys ever since because we went from playing the weekends to touring and like we did not have any equipment. We didn't know what the hell. We just had an album. We just graduated a couple weeks prior to that. We had $5 a day each to live on, and we're just like, okay, we're here to play. And those guys taught us the ropes. And it's cool that there's an impending doom resurgence right now because it was like I loved reaching out to Brooke because it was like getting him out of retirement. I was like, Brooke, come on, man, like let's do this. And he always comes to our Austin shows and he'll sing with us.
Nice.
He's the man. But then so there was three parts. It was like get the people from that time period, get people that inspired us. So a lot of the bands that we befriended over the years, but like we loved were like after the burial, August Burns Red, like we were listening to them when we were in the studio deciding what our band was going to sound like. So it was cool to have that full circle because I put them on the parts that we sort of like ripped them off on. I was like, hey, this is Bounty because we loved ABR. So I was like, Jake, sing on this part. And same with Anthony. I was like, yo, this is, we loved after the burial. I was like, sing on this part. And then over the years, we've taken Currents out on their first US tour, the first European tour. And and we've just toured with them so much that we knew they like grew up listening to us. Same with Fit for a King. So like, and same with Silent Planet. So
Hmm.
those were that was a section of people were like, let's bring some people that were inspired by this album onto the album as well, so they can sort of come full circle. So there's like sort of three little sections of like the reasoning of why we have who we have on the album.
Nice. It's so, dude, it's so well done, man.
Thank you.
Um, is it weird for you being one of those bands now for a lot of people that other bands were for you? Like Miss May is a band that inspired so many bands now to do what they
It
do. Is it weird seeing like Our Last Night or Silent Planet being like, yeah, we looked up to you guys?
it is definitely weird, especially because it's really weird because you know that's coming or you hope that's coming because I remember being when the roles were reversed. Um, but the other cool thing is it's a lot less stressful because we're not like out front of the lines just being like, hey, listen to our band. It's like it's nice to
Yeah.
show up and people are like, oh, you're the old school guys. And I'm like, you want to hear that old song? And you're just like, you want us to play something like it's cool. And it's a lot more it's weird to say this, but it's a lot more relaxing and gives us a lot more space to be creative now because there's not that pressure of like, please, I hope they like our band. Please, I hope they like our band, or like, please listen to us. Which like we still have those moments now in our career, but it's not as there's a whole nother sort of perspective that we can approach and just be like, hey, we know what if you haven't heard of us yet, that's crazy because we played everything you could possibly play,
Yeah.
and we're just going to be the best version of ourselves that we can be instead of just trying to like do different things and wave our hands and be like, please check our
Right.
band. So
You built up the trust with the fan base that
yeah,
they, which it's odd timing. I was talking to one of my
it takes
best friends.
15 years to do that. It takes a long time.
I
Yeah.
was talking to one of my best friends about this earlier today with Lincoln Park and how, you know, with everything that happened yesterday, they've got Emily is their new
Great.
singer, and a lot of bands that would be a huge risk, but they built up the trust with their fan base that even with that big of a change and that big of a transition, their fans still, no matter what, love what they're doing, you
Yeah,
know?
he said something really cool, which gave me goosebumps when they were playing that yesterday. Was he was like introducing everyone in the band, and he introduced her as like, "Oh, this is." He didn't say new singer; he just said this is a
Yes.
singer, and he was like, "And you guys will be playing Chester," and I was just like,
Yes.
"That's such a cool thing and a
Yes.
cool way to put it." Yeah,
Yes. We're not replacing him. You guys are him.
yeah,
She's filling in the parts where it needs to be filled in. The other thing I loved was it was just so honest. He came out and said, "It's just so good to see you guys again."
yeah,
I cried. I
yeah,
tear,
yeah. It's crazy.
but yeah, it's when you build up the trust with the fan base, it takes so much pressure off. And I get what you're saying. Where like as far as like being that guy that people are like, yeah, like yeah. I work a lot in pro wrestling, and it's weird 'cause I've been in our local wrestling company for 5 or 6 years now, and now I'm the guy that guys are coming up to, like, hey, what'd you think of this? What do you think of this? I'm like, this is weird. I should
Yeah,
not be that guy. Like, I feel like I'm still new at it, you know?
it like happens overnight.
It
You
does.
feel like
It's
it's your first day, and you're like, "What?"
yeah. I'm like, man, I'm the old guy now. What the hell happened? You
Happens
know?
quick.
Relentless Fest is coming up in just about what 2 months now.
Yeah.
Um, and dude, that lineup is sick. You guys are gonna be. Is that your guys' festival that you guys are putting on?
Yeah, yeah. So it used to be a Christmas festival that we stopped a couple years ago. We did it for a few years in Dayton, but Dayton, Ohio, that's like where we're from, where we started playing. But there's like really no venues there, so
Oh,
that's sort of why it fizzled away because we were sort of manipulating a wedding venue into a rock show one time a year, and like it was cool, but it was like we sort of trashed the place, and like it was really
oh,
pretty, like not purposely. It was and like nothing was damaged. It was just like really rough one night a year. So
right.
it's a hard conversation to have.
It's a metal
Um,
show.
yeah, exactly. And then all the I live in Cincinnati now, and all the venues that were like old rock venues have been purchased by the big companies, which is great. But um, we there's this theater that the Relentless Fest is at. There's old hard rock venue in northern Kentucky called Mad Hatter. that people played at
Yes.
the time. Okay, so they knocked that down, and the old owner purchased the Madison Theater. He's like this old
Okay.
hardcore guy, and it's because he wanted to be about community and keep it local. And the Madison Theater holds like 2,000 people. So we've been literally working on this for like 2 years, and it didn't like line up, and then it sort of fell to where like we're like, oh, we can bring the tour, move it like from winter time to fall, like all these things that sort of fell into place. And yeah, so now it's all about community and like sort of what we grew up like loving as like a band that opened for international bands. So half the tour or half the show is local, half the show is international, and then
Nice.
there's a big advocacy of local stuff. So there's like we're shutting down the street in the front, putting food trucks. There's an after party up on the roof. There's a bunch of cool stuff. It's all just, and we have our own beers. So like we have Miss May I beer that'll be there for just the show. Yeah, a lot of cool, just fun times. And we're sort of when, sorry, I'm gonna turn off my
You're good.
do not disturb is going crazy. We Another thing we wanted to do was I know we're headlining this year because our tour just so happens to end around there, but the idea is to grow it to a whole weekend festival, and like we wouldn't even be the headliners next year. Like we're just gonna bring in our favorite bands and just
Nice.
keep building this metal show that we've always like wanted for the community. So
And plus, the guy who's in charge of the venue knows how rock shows and metal crowds are. So if there's a little bit of a mess left over, he won't be
oh yeah,
too
well it's a
mad.
real rock venue. Like it's
Yeah,
a real yeah. Like I saw
yeah,
in things there. I was like
yeah.
it's a real. It's nice to not bring the PA. Like we used to have to bring the PA. Like all this stuff that was such a freaking headache just to be like we want it to be in Dayton, and we're just like it's an hour away. Like or not even an hour. It's like 45
Right.
minutes. So if you want to come, do the drive. It's in a cooler city. No offense to Dayton. I love Dayton, but yeah.
How special how much does it mean to you to have this festival back, and be doing it again? And like you said, half local, half international, but this is your guys' festival. How special is it for you guys to have this festival back?
It's dude, it's really special because we never really get to do homecoming shows. Like tours really, unless it's our headliner, they don't really go close to where we're from. So like having family and friends that we see every day come see us and support us and like be like, hey, this is what we do when we're gone. Um, we just miss that. And we love that because obviously the first couple years of our band, that's what we did every weekend around here. So there's so many people that never get to see us. And it's cool now to sort of structure it the way we did structure it too, because a big thing of this is our family and friends. So like we there's a huge section of the show and in the venue that's just for family and friends to stand and like because there's a lot of old like we have grandparents like we have all these like it's like a family reunion for us and it's a metal show at the same time. So we sort of organized it to where it's like it is that it's like a one time a year Miss May I family reunion on top of like a curated show that we put together for the community. So
That's awesome. It's not far from me. If I'm off that weekend, I might have to come check it out.
yeah, come hang. And we've never played with Born of Osiris. Like that was
Really?
something, dude, I know. We like came up at the same time. We like loved them in high school and we've like never crossed
Really?
paths. We've done like maybe a festival, but I don't even think so. Or like a work tour. Like it's
I
always,
say, yeah, I say you guys have had to have been on a Warp Tour or something together. Like,
it's crazy. Yeah.
oh man,
So yeah,
wow.
very
That,
excited to have them come down. That was the other thing. They're close enough. We're just like, call them up. We're like, dude, please, we never get to play with you guys. Like, be our surprise guest for this show. So,
right? And then
yeah.
obviously the tour kicks off in a month, going out playing the record in full. You guys are playing the record in full at Relentless Fest as well. But like, man, like there's a couple dudes in the band now that weren't in the band when the record. Did they have to like did you guys have to relearn any songs? Did they have to learn some of the songs? Like, and how much fun was it to watch those guys record this record for the first time? You recorded it, a couple of you guys recorded it the first time, but like the new guys got to record it for the first time and like really live these songs.
Yeah, me and Jared were the only originals. It's funny when Ryan left, he left for like 9 months and it was during the album. So he like he left, the band got signed, we did an album, and then Josh, who did the album, only did like a week of tour, and then he left the band, and then Ryan came back. So Ryan only missed like a second. It just so happened to be the
The
recording. So
album.
he's played these songs for 15 years. And it's his first time to really get to put his spin on it. So that was really cool to watch Ryan play it. And then Elijah, our new guitar player, he is just a shred master. So it was really cool to see his approach to it because he got to communicate with BJ and Justin on like how they approach the riffs, and um, he got
Mhm.
to put his spin on it after he, because like there's tabs and there's videos, but it's like you got to ask the guys who actually tracked it, like how did
Yeah.
you do it? So it was cool to watch them communicate and then him do his thing. And he's like, oh well, if I do it like this, like it was just really cool. And we actually, in Elijah, the new guitar player, he engineered the whole thing. So it was fun to do it in his studio, and like we that's a new thing too for us, is to like sort of bring that part of the band back instead of being so commercial and so corporate, which is fun, but we're just like I said, to spice things up. It's nice to be like, hey, let's it's our schedule. We're gonna do it when we want to do it, and it's not like a forced, like it doesn't feel like work right now. It feels like we're kids again. It's been awesome.
That is so good to hear, man. Because when the band is having fun, we have fun, and like you could, dude, you can tell when a band isn't feeling it, even on an album. Like,
Oh
good
yeah,
God, like, yeah, I talked to Moose about the Temper album that he did with Bullet. I'm like, man, I could just tell on that tour and on that record, you guys were just not. He's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have even done that album. It just wasn't a good time. You can, man, you can tell like you had to have had so much fun putting this record together and just kind of revisiting the songs and bringing the people in on the songs that were on them. Because, like, man, I would have had a blast doing this.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. There was a lot of ranges too that have sort of fizzled, like that we haven't really revisited in a while. So it was nice to do some of those vocal ranges that I haven't done in a while. And it's like it re-excited or like reignited some things for new music that we're working on, to be like, oh, remember when we did this crazy stuff? Because that whole album is not structured because we were just kids and it really. There are structured songs that we wrote in the studio because we were with a real producer, but there's also a handful of songs that were demos that we wrote when we were like 14, and they just so happened to make on the album. So it's just us like making noise, but it turned into a song. And you're like, whoa, this is crazy. So it was
that's
nice to sort of revisit that.
that's what makes the album so fun. Like, it takes me back to like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning circle pits in Noblesville, Indiana on Warp Tour or Mayhem Festival. Just like, man, just to be young and be a kid again, like it just brings
Yeah.
back so many memories, man. You guys are going out on the road starting next month, which it sounds like one of the first full length tours you guys have had in a minute now.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are the feelings going into this one? Because you guys are playing it in full. Are you guys going to play some of the other songs, other material from other records as well, or just strictly apologies?
No, so it's really cool. This is our first time approaching a show theatrically. So like, and it's because we've sort of goes back to the just the staleness. Not saying that we were stale, but just getting ready for a tour again and having so much time off in between tours. It's like, hey, can we do something different this time? Um, and especially now, it feels like a new chapter because we have new music for the tour. We have a new lineup. So we're approaching the show differently, which I'm really excited about because, yeah, we've played 1,500 shows on tour and we've done the wall of cabs, the lights, and all this. And it's like, what can we do different? Which is obviously really hard when you're playing the same venue and you have the same guys. It's like, what can we mix up? And we sort of went to the drawing board and mixed it up. And I really think that's going to be cool. And it's like it's broken into two parts. So there's a two-part show sort of. And not to give away too much, but it's gonna be cool. And I'm really excited. I'm excited for people to experience it just because I know not that it's not gonna be rowdy, but I also know our fans and like how everything is changing as well. So it's like I want it to also be like an experience. Because we're touring so little nowadays, I want it to be like it used to be we would meet fans at meet and greets and they're like, oh, I'm going to see you in a couple months when you come through again with these guys. And now it's like we're doing this tour, but the next tour is not even announced. So it's like, who knows when we'll come back. So we really want to make that experience elevated. And we've done a lot of stuff for this show. So yeah, I'm pumped. And I'm hoping it works because there's a lot of like additions we want to do for future tours. So this is like step one of like a multi-tiered idea that we have. So
It's awesome. You guys are hitting some awesome cities, dude. Des Moines, my back of the woods back home, and they
we
Iowa
do
doesn't
Woolies,
get a lot.
right?
What's that?
Is it Woolies in Des Moines?
I think so. Yeah, I'm looking at Woolies. That place is crazy.
Yeah.
Man, we don't get a. They're finally getting shows in Iowa, but for years we didn't get anything out there. So we those crowds always bring it, man. And then Chicago. I mean, like it's gonna be. These are some awesome cities you guys are hitting, man. And then taking out In Heart's Wake and Traders. Like, dude, the lineup is killer.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, two Australian bands. It's pretty crazy. We us in Australia are like this. We always there's always we're either the only American band on the Australian tour or there's a ton of Australian bands here. I don't know what's in the water down there, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I love the In Hearts Wait guys. It's gonna be awesome.
Awesome. Man, dude, thank you so much for doing this today. You guys killed it with the re-recording, with the
Thanks,
re-release,
man.
man. And thank you for doing something new and fresh with it, and not just putting out the same album and giving us like a whole new album with it, man.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
doing that, man.
Yeah.
It's such a cool approach you guys took, man, and it paid off.
Thank you. Thanks for having me too, man.